woman.
It's this bad boy that's local. He's growth, you know, 3-day growth. Day growth
Won't
all
have
the
an
time,
ocean.
you know, I mean,
I think she lives on the ocean.
Oh, does she?
I signed it, I think, didn't I? Want to be
Plus
sure.
you're talking about.
Okay, what are we doing here today?
Oh, is that right? Yeah, on the personal property, business property.
If you could do me a favor, I had a wonderful opportunity to go to Kings County and, as I told you about, go to their assessment appeals board and defend one of our employees' values.
Yeah.
That is the most in-depth. Closer, huh?
I think.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Tulare County Assessment Appeals Board hearing for June 17th, 2013. Sitting today is myself, George Ozunian, Glenn Fowler, and William McKinley. First item on the agenda is comments from board members, staff, and assessor comments. Any of the board have any comments? We should have a fairly short meeting today. Staff?
I do have one. I'd like to introduce to the assessor and most of the board members that are attending. Lisa Tenenbaum, I've been attorneys in the office.
Welcome. And clerk, any comments? Okay, and the assessor comments?
None.
Boy, this is moving right along. I understand, is there anyone here from John Hancock? They're going to agree to a stipulation. So we're going to do their stipulation with the only other stipulation, agenda item 4. So the next agenda is Dr. Grun, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Grunick? Yes. Yes. If you'd come forward, please. And the clerk will swear you in, along with the assessor.
Sure.
Madam Clerk, if you can hold off for a second, staff is going to be coming up to the front to get sworn in too.
I do. Gaurang Pandya.
I do. Corey Weaver.
Kokendorfer.
Okay, this is a application based on a single-family home that you occupy.
That is correct.
Okay, and down below on your original application, you did not check findings of fact, whether you wanted them or did not want them. Have you decided whether you want to have findings of fact?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
Okay.
And if I,
If you think you might want to take it on course, if you lose, then you have to have us write up all of the reasons why you ruled in favor of the assessor. And so deciding whether or not you want to have findings depends on whether you think you might want to take it to court or not.
and how much is the cost usually?
It's a flat rate of $150, if I remember correctly. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, it's on here.
All right, then I'll,
And I will tell you that if you withdraw if you choose to pay it, you have to pay it now. But if you win, then you can withdraw the request and get your money back.
so I can pay with credit card now?
Whatever the clerk takes.
You need to have that right now?
Yes.
Yes.
It has to be paid before the hearing. $150, right? Oh, 100, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. $100, $250 and 100. I wasn't looking down at the form.
And while we're
And to
doing
save-
that, I'll
To save
just,
time, we won't have her go into the office and get you a receipt right now, but we'll get you a receipt if we get to that point.
Our alternate for the day, I should have announced, is Lance Morris. Lance, originally, this came before us when we
Right, but all we
postponed it.
did was postpone.
Right, so,
So it's okay for him not to be on the
Mr.
panel
Fowler,
today.
Mr. Morris, and myself will be hearing this case.
No, we can still have Mr. McKinley do it, because all we did was postpone, we didn't start the,
I can't do it.
oh, that's right. You recused yourself on
Right.
this one.
It's
Yeah,
on the
okay, sorry.
agenda as to who's supposed to hear it.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that Mr. McKinley had recused himself. Normally, the reason I was saying the regular 3 for today could do it is if we haven't started receiving the
Right.
evidence and we've just postponed, then normally the hearing panel of the day can do it. But I'd forgotten Mr. McKinley had recused himself, so we will
Okay.
proceed with the panel as you have announced.
Mr. Pandia, because your application is a residence that you live in, the assessor presents his case first.
Oh, sure.
And if you can give us just a brief indication as to what the case is about, and then we'll have the assessor present their case.
Sure. The property that we have seem to be a unique property in the city of Porterville. We're bordering on the Porter Slough, which is a waterway, and usually one half of the waterway is one bank size property on one side, north and south side, and they take care of their that side, clear the brush and things like that. Usually it is about 10, 20, 30 feet. In my case, it's about 300 or so feet along the long property line, and the property line goes all the way across to the other side. And it has been a big maintenance issue. When they release the water, it breaks down the bank, and water wants to make a new road in the residential area. So we've been forced to pay the cost of maintaining the waterway so that it doesn't remain a hazard. We've been going to the city over a period of past 7-8 years and had a discussion with the city manager that, look, so the water goes through that, and irrigation district, they make a lot of money, the city makes money, all that, and you're asking us to pay for that. It's an indirect tax on us. And when they released water 2 years ago, it produced a large amount of damage. We ended up doing a lot of maintenance work over a period of time. It's cost us $22,000. And as I was looking for retirement to see that it seems like that in order to occupy the property, I've been mandated by the city and other agencies to pay that cost on an ongoing basis, so that about $2,000-3,000 a year, so that to maintain that, I gave an option to the city and other people that we can fill it in. I can use that space because over half of this land mass is not usable as a residential property or usable property. And so that, in my view, that is an indirect tax that should reduce the property value by that much, so that at least we can maintain that.
I understand. Okay, if the assessor is ready to present your case?
We are, Mr. Chairman. Corey Weaver will be presenting for the assessor's office this morning, and if the board will be patient, we're going to attempt our first overhead presentation with you. So.
Okay.
Here with us. So Dr. Panya summarized his issue pretty well right there, but and the assessor, would definitely agree that the property is a unique property. Valuing it is difficult, but we feel like we've arrived at a fair valuation for the lien date in question. So the lien date, this application is a 2011 application. So we are looking at the taxable value of Dr. and Mrs. Panya's home as of January 1st, 2011. So first, as a rundown, that is the taxable, the first value, that is the taxable value that was on the 2011 roll. The second is the assessor's opinion and full cash value that we arrived at through this appraisal. And the bottom number is the applicant's opinion of full cash value as of January 1st, 2011. As you can see, he arrived at a negative valuation. A little bit about the subject property. The subject property is a single-family residence located at 585 North Belmont Street in California. It's bound by Henderson Avenue to the north, Newcomb Street to the east, Morton Avenue to the south, and Westwood Street to the west. It's located in a generally conforming neighborhood, but the subject property is considered to be an over-improvement for the area due to the size and nature of the improvements. As the applicant pointed out, the total gross area of the site is roughly 1.5 acres. The site is irregular in shape and encumbered by the slough. It is the assessor's opinion that the net usable area of the site is approximately 1 acre. And that's an aerial view of the subject. It's a little dark, a little hard to see. But as you can see, the Porter Slough runs adjacent to the subject's residence. So this is a description briefly of the residence. The primary residence was constructed in 1987. It is 4,470 square feet. It was originally a 1,861 square foot home that was added to in 1994 and 2011. There was a garage conversion in 1994 and then additions in 2011. And the assessor we use to classify the improvements. It is a deconstruction house, which is essentially just a wood frame, normally constructed residence. The quality class, I'm taking this from the assessor's handbook. Class C buildings have wood frame construction such that is generally encountered in residences. Frame is usually made of 2x4 or 2x6 vertical studs, spaced out. The quality class ranks according to their amounts of materials, grades of materials and workmanship. It's a way for the assessor and the state to classify residences. It's essentially speaking to the quality of the construction of the house. The scale is from a 1 to 10 scale, and this house was classified as a 7, so medium to high grade as far as materials. The subject property is located. Then there's also a guest residence that was converted from a shop in 1991. It's 840 square feet. It is also a deconstructed. That one has a little bit lower quality classification. There's a detached office on the property, which was originally constructed as a detached garage in 1993. It was converted to an office in 2005 when some storage space and patio was added. And there's an additional detached garage that was constructed in 2009, and that one is 624 square feet. Here's an overhead shot of the improvements. So as you can see, the primary residence. You can also see the slough running through the property, which is Dr. Panya's main issue. There's a subject street photo. There's a street view. Alrighty, so let's take a look at how we arrived at the valuation for Dr. Panya's property. Basically, the cost approach, there's three approaches to value: the cost approach, the income approach, and the comparable sales approach. In owner-occupied single-family residences, we like to rely on the comparable sales approach whenever that is available, but we'll also take a look at the cost approach to reconcile some value indicators. So these are some comparable land sales. As you can see, a little difficult finding comparable land sales because it is a unique property. But we figured the land was worth approximately $50,000, estimated 75 cents per square foot, multiplied by the area gives us 53,511, and we rounded that down to 50,000. Here's a brief breakdown of the cost approach. You can take a look at it. But the bottom line is once we costed up all of the improvements located on Dr. Panya's property, we found the value of those improvements to be approximately $277,000. These costs are taken from the SBE Assessor's Handbook, and the most difficult part when you're dealing with the cost approach is estimating depreciation, and so I just took the present good numbers from their tables, but we also further depreciated it an additional 15% due to the fact that it's an over improvement for the area. This is a rundown for the guest residence, the offices and storage, and the garage. But there's a summary of costs. So via the cost approach, the assessor estimated the total value for 2011 at $408,000. So now let's take a look at the approach that the assessor relied on the most, the comparative sales approach. Again, this is a very unique property. So we did our best in selecting the comparable sales that we chose, but we are limited to the data that we have available to us. So this is a photo of the first comparable. Now the first two comparables are located on Castle Street. Let's just run through here. The date of the sale was September 28, 2010. This sales price, you can see, was $350,000. The square footage was at 3,007. The site's roughly about 1.2 acres. Kind of a similar feel, Castle Street, as you can see, the proximity to the subject. But Castle is on the northwest portion of town, located generally close to the city. The city does provide water and sewage service to them. So we were trying to find, due to the nature of Dr. Panya's, the size of his property, it's an acre and a half in the middle of town. So trying to find comparables with a site size of an acre and a half in the middle of town, it's very difficult. So the second comparative sales that we chose is also located on Castle. That one sold a little bit further ago. You can see the sales price there and the site size. There's the proximity. The third sale is located on Yates Avenue. You can see the rundown there of that sale. The sale occurred in January of 2010 with the sales price of $350,000. That one's located in an inferior area to the subject. It is on the southeast portion of town, which is generally a little bit inferior to the subject. So this is just a breakdown. The cost approach indicated a value of $408,000 for 2011. We considered it to establish the upper end of the value range for the subject property. The comparative sales approach indicated a value of $360,000. The comparative sales was appropriately given the most weight, and that is the assessor's valuation as of January 1st, 2011, at that $360,000. Like I said, the primary issue here for Dr. Pena is the slough and the costs incurred to maintain that slough. The assessor did take that into account in its appraisal. The assessor feels that we valued the property fairly as of the valuation date. So that is the assessor's case, and I'll leave it up to Dr. Pena to, unless there's any questions or from you guys.
Panel members have any questions? Okay, then we'll move on to the applicant's presentation.
Sorry, I didn't know that you would take a PowerPoint presentation, so I had prepared that in paper. I think about 8 copies are needed. And I would also like to ask this question, can I have a copy of that PowerPoint presentation, or is that,
We have,
can I have that?
Did we give him a copy of the?
I don't know, did we not get him a copy of the?
That's all right, I can,
Yeah. I can give him this one.
Would the, Langley, would you guys like to, because we can give you one of
Yes,
ours.
we
Yeah.
would. I'm sorry, I thought the other one was
Lisa, we were-
given to,
Lisa, we were going to have the guidelines changed to 9. Did we do that? Have them be 9. You brought 8, so did we get the guidelines changed?
the
to be
assessor
9?
needs one.
Okay, but give them a second one, and we'll share. Sorry about that.
Sir and I should always each get a copy.
I'm sorry, there is one less.
Are-
copy.
It's okay.
Are
If you were
these-
told to bring 8, then 8's fine. We just need
Are
to
these,
fix that going forward.
Color-coded for some purpose?
No,
Okay.
just that what I could get from Walmart. No, it's just generic version. I would like to explain to you how this is organized so that it becomes easier to review. And up front, if you look at that, is the cover letter. And in cover letter, basically states the issue that we see as an important value reduction issue. And then I have attachments. With that is listed in the cover letter. And then the attachments are labeled as separated by attachment number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then what I would do is when you have a chance to initially briefly review what it is, then I can start with my cover letter. I'll wait for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So, as I briefly stated earlier on, the issue is that the valuation is high because it does not take in account the ongoing expense to maintain the waterway, which has no personal or other benefit to us. It's like an indirect tax. We have, over a period of time, talked to the irrigation district, city, and different people, and they choose to not really address that. This is your responsibility to take care of. It is one thing to do some nominal manual work and maintain the weed abatement And the other thing is to maintain the entire area where the banks are breaking down and need to be structurally constructed. And at one point we had consulted Mr. Schaefer. He came by, that was 7-8 years ago, and he said, well, the only thing you can do is to go ahead and try to strengthen the site. So, and over a period of time, there are about 8 or 9 areas on the north bank of the slough, which is towards the residence, develops areas where the water wants to get into the residential area. So that requires management. So I disagree with the assessment. Over 50% of the area is not usable, and the line drawings that the county has provided, it does not do justice to the actual area which is usable as a residential property, and I don't think they have any way of knowing exactly. But I have on page number 2 of my cover letter, I have a line drawing of the Google map, and it shows that all that area, when you fold it over, it's more than the residential area. Then going to the attachment number 1, and this is the first page is what was the original assessment of $412,000, and that assessment is over assessment. They finally came to an agreement of a $360,000 assessment, but I have an assessment made for a loan that was made in that period of time, and without considering the ongoing losses from the property maintenance, they came to $360,000. So the actual value should be less than $360,000. That I have that. I'm sorry, it's not part of the attachments that I gave you, but I could perhaps give you all these copies. I have about 8 copies there. So that addresses the evaluation by the assessor about that, we went to all the properties that the assessor has listed as comparable sales, but close inspection and site visits revealed that there are no issues, that there is ongoing expense needed to maintain the public right-of-way or a public waterway or such on those properties, and so therefore relying on those properties would be inflating the stated value of our property, because those are not comparable. They don't have that. And behind that, on attachment 1, we found some properties which are similar. They were valued at that time at $265,000 and $214,000, about 5-bedroom properties. The page after that shows the Porterville Irrigation District. They are a business of over $2.5 million, and they are a governmental agency. They don't have to rely on anybody, or they are not responsible to anybody. I talked with several irrigation district managers over a period of time, and the only thing they do is that, oh yeah, sure, it's your responsibility, you take care of it, and they walk away. So we don't know, we don't have any control over that. So to us it seems like that we are mandated to pay for that cost. On attachment number 3, you can see that there is significant enforcement activity from the city of Porterville and others, that they are very quick in enforcing the residents, trying to send people with badges, say you have to do this and that, and that's somewhat intimidating. But then, of course, there is no, they don't own up to the responsibility. They are pushing that to us. That brings us to attachment number 4, and that shows the maintenance issues and the cost. If you go to page number 1 for the attachment number 1, I'm sorry, if I'm going too fast, please.
Yes, can you slow down just a little bit, please?
Oh, okay,
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Attachment number 4 is the main core issue of the cost. On page number 1 of the attachment number 4, shows the property, and then it shows the amount of water which is released from the Lake Success Dam, which at times is about 12-15 feet deep and about 40 feet wide on the widest area of the top of the slough, about 25 feet across, and the water comes in with a lot of force, bringing all kinds of debris and branches and things like that, that keeps on scraping the sides of the slough, that produces damage. On page number 1, you can see the page photograph number on the item number 3, that the south side of the slough is crumbling. It's like a hazardous landslide area. So if a child is going underneath that, or that it can fall over. And if you stand at the bottom of the slough, then it's about 10-12 feet high. So that's a huge area, which is now crumbling, is going to require management. On page number 2 of attachment number 4, you can see in these pictures what actually happened and how that happens. And it's actually a study in what happened. We took some pictures. The neighbor south of us cut down the tree, was actually in our property, but without any consent or any information, cut it down and laid down in the slough. And that deflected the water flow towards the north bank, and it took out a huge chunk of about 40 feet by 30 feet and about 20 feet deep. And the water started going inside the residential area. So we had to take emergency measures to fill that up. And so I had to hire contractors to bring dirt. And the fella came with his truckloads of cement, concrete blocks and things like that. And it went on and on for 3-4 days to fill that in. And so when it became dry, then we had to sandbag that so that it doesn't happen again, because if the water is finding a way through the residential area, that actually is a public hazard, and actually hazard to us first. So we had to do that. And when I looked at the north side of the slough towards the residence, over a period of time, about 8 or 9 areas where water has broken through, you can see that we had to bolster that produced significant cost. And on page number 4, it shows it came from Mrs. Pandya's bookkeeping software. We spent over $22,000 in a period of between 2004 and 2012, about $2,468 per year as a cost, average cost of maintaining the integrity of the waterway, so that some other people have financial and economic gain from that. And that I don't see that it's going to reduce. It's going to have an ongoing liability. And although we were not informed about this liability at the time of purchase, and perhaps we were too naive to just buy it on the man's word, but actually when we try to sell it, we'll have to tell the next buyer that, look, this is an ongoing liability, and that reduces the sellable value of the property. So in order to put a value on that, I went back to see how much money I need to invest as a set aside in order to pay for that cost. And so, there are various CD rates, and then some of them 0.1% CD rate, 0.7% CD rate, that let us know that that's the amount of money that is needed to set aside to pay for this cost on an ongoing basis. And to us, it means it's a negative cost of the property. And attachment number 5, I went to my local banker and asked him that, look, if I have to pay $3,000 on a yearly basis, then how much investment is needed? And in his opinion, in current environment, takes about $500,000 in investment, which would be stranded. I'll have to take out of my other value and put it in there, so that would pay for the cost of maintaining this. That should have been a government and irrigation district and other agencies' responsibility. And so we have a significant problem Fortunately, it's unique to one property, I would think, unless others have the same issue. So this is our issue that we kind of singled out to pay taxes. In our view, it's an indirect tax, which for us is not fair tax because not everybody in the town or other places are required to pay that to maintain the public property and public right of way and things like that. So I'll take any questions if you have.
Okay, board members have any questions?
Were you aware of the slough when you purchased the property?
So when I purchased the property, at the time, the owner walked me through that, and he said that only half of the property is on the north side and the other half is on the other side. And actually, at the time, the city officials were also enforcing the south side neighbors to maintain their half of that area, probably based on misunderstanding they had. Later on, then the city had a new code enforcer. They started telling us that, oh, this is also part of your property. You have to maintain both sides of the property. And so then they came up with all kinds of official records that I had never had any chance to review before. Not that I would have understood that in 2002 because we were just too inexperienced at that time. So we were not aware of that at the time of purchase.
Was there CC&Rs on the property when you purchased it? The recent review revealed that it doesn't show. Restrictions. Were there any restrictions on the property? Conditions? In your preliminary title report?
None that I'm aware of, no.
Was the real estate people make you aware of it?
No, they did not.
This appraisal, I assume this is a financing appraisal?
It's a financing appraisal, right.
Your FEMA map indicates on here that you're in a flood zone X. That the county, what is the flood zone X? I don't remember. What C is, I think, is the best. What is flood zone X? The FEMA map.
I am not sure what the flood zone X was. We looked at the flood zone issue. The research that I did indicated that it wasn't. The slough is located in a 1 in 100 year flood zone, and the slough provided the drainage for the flood, so they're not in a flood zone. Is the research that I did.
So this was your appraisal that you're providing us?
Correct.
Okay. And that value says it's $360,000,
which is what we came to.
Right.
And the effective date of the appraisal is also very
close.
Yeah, and their first comparable, the same comparable that I used and weighted most heavily. I definitely empathize in this situation. His property, it's a little more unique than the rest of them located on the slough because, as you can see from the area, so much of his property is encumbered by that slough. The other homeowners, located on the slough, don't have as big of an issue as he does. But they're still got to value you still have to value the property. So we went about it the best and the fairest way that we felt we could.
On your attachment 4, I'm looking on page 3. There's a picture at the bottom, item number 8. And there's multiple pictures, kind of the same thing, but this is kind of the best one that I kind of had saw. There at the bottom, page 3. Your house is to the north of the slough, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yours is not the house with the pool that is right on the slough, right? It's the one up north, to the north of that?
One to the west of that.
Or to the west. Okay, yeah, my dimensions are all messed up. But your neighbor is the one with the pool that sits right on the slough, and then you're just west of that one, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so your house sits off quite a ways from the slough. Then you have the big land area, or the grass area, and that's all yours.
Right.
And then the slough is actually kind of up against the, well, I guess you do have one building there, huh? I was just trying to get a visual of where your residence. So, but on your application, you have a negative value. You are still contending that the property value is worthless for property tax purposes?
Well, it's an arithmetically arrived figure, and based on the fact that if an ongoing liability is attached to the property, then that was, I mean, please correct me, but I'm not good at all these appraisals and valuation business, but to me, on my common sense basis, it seemed like that if I had to put away some money somewhere to maintain that, then that is a negative value to the property. That's the only logic I have. And so that's why it shows that way. My main issue is that we have about $2,500 worth of tax a year that we consider that as a tax, which is a maintenance requirement. That should reduce my property tax by that much. This is the main core thought behind that, is that look, that we are already paying this to the government in form of maintenance, and it's not like one-time deal. It's over a period of time. On an average, we are paying $2,500 a year to maintain that waterway, so that public safety and other things are maintained, or the other agencies are doing their business accordingly. And so therefore, in my view, that property value should be down that much. Now, if you consider that the tax rate of 1.5%, then to arrive at that may arrive at a different number, that a 1% tax rate would reduce that by $250,000 from whatever the arrived value is. So this, does that make any sense? Or
I'm struggling with that thought.
Okay.
But that's just, I have a little different way of thinking, I guess. My approach is, what's the property worth? And in your estimation or your value, you're saying that your property is worthless.
No, I said that my property.
And that's what that's what the assessment, the property tax assessment, is based on. What a fair value of that property is. And then you, of course, pay the property tax on the fair value of that property. So in your assessment, you're kind of saying, I shouldn't pay any property tax at all because I'm having to pay for this maintenance, which is just, that's, I have to pay for this ongoing cost of this property, and that should reduce everything else. Is that what I'm kind of struggling with a little bit?
What I'm saying is that the maintenance cost that we have, I have no value for that. We have zero value. It's a negative value for us. I offered that piece of slough to City of Porterville, and I can offer that to the County of Tulare. I can offer that to Porter Irrigation District. I can just deed that to them for a nominal value, and they can maintain that. Then I have no problem with that. They don't want to do that. They want to force us to maintain the waterway so that whatever they are doing, they can do that very happily and be on their way. But they are making me pay for that, so I cannot go happily, merrily over my way. So I think we are getting unfair treatment from the combined governmental agencies, and this is the only time or only place that I brought my issue at this time, that I'm saying that, look, this is not fair. I'm not getting equal treatment. I do my fair share of public charity and things like that, and we do that all the time. But this is not equal treatment as compared to my neighbors, about 50,000 people in Porterville, and why am I to pay extra share of the public responsibility? And this is the issue. And so this, to me, it seems like that is the way to equalize the uneven playing field, is to reduce the property tax on the property, so that we can go ahead and take care of that. We know how to do that, but the cost of that should come from the governmental funds, not from my funds.
Is this a natural occurring waterway, or is this man-made?
It's naturally occurring. That was talked to the irrigation district, talked to the city of Porterville, and what I gleaned from that, it is my understanding that the fact that it is a naturally occurring waterway, and it has always been a part of the property, that's what makes it the onus with the property owner to go ahead and maintain that slough.
Right.
So it is a naturally occurring.
And how many months of the year does it have water in it?
It just depends on when they water in Lake Success, they release it. When
So
they're-
2 months a year, or 3 months, 5 months?
It varies from season to season, depending. Could be 2 months, 3 months. So when they release it, all the debris that they have from Lake Success,
Right.
all the way to us is about 10, 15 miles. All that debris begin to come through, and a lot of times there are big branches, there are logs and things like that, tires and other things.
So would you say that it's also a flood control device? In other words, when there's water, excess water, they turn it loose into the slough.
I believe that's what they're doing. I'm not sure what they're using that as for. Sometimes they're using that to recharge or send water to the irrigation district so they can
Okay.
tap into it.
And it appears to have a sandy texture to it so that the water does sink down into the ground rapidly.
So they are using that to recharge the groundwater.
Recharge the water
and
table.
also give it to the farmers, as I
And
understand.
there's no regulation as to CC&Rs. I think Mr. Fowler brought that up. In other words, your neighbors and you are not obligated to do anything by writing to maintain this. That if you are objecting to the maintenance of it, that's your expense.
Well, I have to review that because I have not come across.
I think Mr. Fowler brought that up in asking if there are CC&Rs, covenant and conditions that obligate you to something, or if it's no obligation to you at all. Is that correct?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay. Any other questions from the board members?
I have one.
Yes.
If you were trying to sell this property, what price would you expect somebody to pay for it?
Well, as
The
much
whole
as,
the whole property.
as much as I can get.
What's
Which
that?
would- which
Rough,
As
give a
much
rough
as I can
value.
get.
Rough
I
value.
don't,
Give,
I
give
don't
us
know.
give us a
I was gonna
value
ask the same
within
question.
$100,000. You'd say I wouldn't sell it for less than this, and I'd be surprised if I got this much.
I don't know. What to value, you're asking me what value I'll put on the property.
On the whole property.
Right, and so usually it depends on the buyer's bank and what buyer is willing to pay for.
Okay, I'll buy it from you for $100,000. Would you sell it to me for that price?
Not today, no.
So you think it's worth more than $100,000?
Yeah, well, I think it's worth millions of dollars, but that has the emotional and other values attached to it. I would have to think about that to come to a fair valuation. That's your question, I take it, that what is my view of my property's value. Well, I bought it for $222,000 in 2002, and we added some to it, but then that did not include the negative valuation from the issues with the slough. And actually, we bought a property like Bank of America bought the other countrywide. They didn't know that there were the problems with the buying that purchase. And so we are in that similar situation that, so in order to have a reasonable estimate, I'll really have to go back and take a look at that and actually try to get somebody to value that.
So you did in 2010, though.
But so that valuation that you have, that appraisal did not account for $360,000 appraisal for loan did not account for the negative valuation from the slough because we didn't think of it that way at that time. And as I was, we're trying to make retirement plans, then I realized that I'll have to buy an annuity to pay this along with the property tax and make an arrangement for that if I'm not able to make an income. Yeah. And so that's how it came about our focus that this is a problem. Then we did a retroactive review to see what that is.
I guess that's where I was struggling with your value. You have an appraisal for $360,000 that I don't know if you got a bank loan or whatever you did the appraisal for. So for the bank, the value is okay of $360,000, but for property tax valuation and kind of what we're asking, what do you think the value is? Your value based on the slough and based on everything, you're saying your property is worthless, according to your document, your assessment. For property tax purposes, you're saying the property is worthless, basically. It's not worth anything because of the slough and the upkeep and the maintenance that you have to have. Am I not kind of looking at that right? Or that's what I apologize. That's what I was struggling with.
I understand. Actually, I have struggled with that issue also, but the only discussable numbers that I got was from the CD rates and things like that. And I think my issue is not with the valuation. My issue is that amount of tax that I had to pay that I'm already paying, and there is no mechanism for property tax refund like income tax refund on 1040. And so how do I talk to the county and say, look, that I'm already paying this tax for the people of the county in an indirect manner, that number 2,400, we can distill that number more and audit that and see if that is the real thing or not. But I think that's going to be very close to about $2,400 cost a year. So then, so that get translated in the value, taxable value number. To see that what is the taxable value, because I'm already paying that to the people of the county, and so there's also people of the county charging me tax somewhere else. So there's a balancing act says how to pay for that, and do I have to pay for that? This is
so. If the slough wasn't there, what would you think the value would be of the home?
$360,000.
That's the value you think it would be without the slough.
That's what the appraiser did that, and I'm, for the loan, and so then I have to deduct some value from that $360,000 to pay for the slough expenses. This is what I'm thinking. I think you are all experts in these matters. We have not really. I'm sorry. This is my wife, Ela.
Right.
Well, at this point, what I'd like to do is there any other questions from the board members, first of all?
I'd like to make one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Just to speak to Mr. Fowler's question. FEMA Flood Zone X is less than 1% chance of annual flooding on the property.
I wasn't sure. I'd seen them before, but I remember what the
Apparently X replaced C this year, so.
Porterville Irrigation District is the one that's utilizing this water out of there.
Correct. In pursuit of this, we understand Dr. Pena's dilemma with this. It's a large expense annually to maintain it.
What's that?
In pursuit of this, we did contact Mike Ennis to see if he could assist Dr. Pena with determining whether it truly was his responsibility to maintain the waterway. As of this point, we haven't heard from Mr. Ennis back. I don't know if Dr. Pena has.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I have copies of the email that we sent to Supervisor Ennis, and we haven't received a response from the office.
If I'm understanding some of these pictures in Dr. Penda's presentation, particularly page 3 again, attachment 4, looks like there's a considerable amount of erosion. And in effect, the house, I'm assuming, is higher than the erosion, and that if this continued to erode, it would just basically cause the slope to be less, and it may not necessarily get even into the lawn area where the house is. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah, like we've said, I've been out there and I've done a physical inspection of the property with Dr. and Mrs. Pena, and definitely there's erosion issues.
Right.
There is.
Doctor, basically, I live on a lake, man-made lake. When they dug the lake, they lined it with clay so that it wouldn't seep through. In fact, they didn't line it with clay, and when they filled it, the water went down immediately. So they emptied the lake and they lined it with clay, and they basically put a concrete barrier, and they have also a restriction, I'm assuming this is one of the issues we have with the CCNRs, that there isn't any boat traffic on this lake when there's water in it. Is that correct?
As far as I know, no. There are no boats.
Well, in effect, on our lake, the restriction is that you have a speed restriction, and there can only be electric motors, and people are supposed to be going slowly, even though they break the rules, so that it doesn't create a wake on the lake and erode the bank, which the bank has a concrete, fairly good-sized barrier to prevent it from eroding. Now, in your particular case, the question is that what's the environment worth? The view, and for instance, do you have birds that come through time to time in the year and basically maybe even nest? Because in our neighborhood, some people think the birds are a burden, and other people think the birds are a benefit. In fact, some of them want to get rid of all of the geese, and some people then get a hold of the wildlife service and try to protect the geese in the same neighborhood. Okay, we do have CCNRs. So the point I'm making is what is the value of the view and the environment to the owner?
Right, I'll show you the picture on page number 3, and you can see where I have these red round circles. This is where all the erosion have occurred periodically that we had to take care of. And it's an eyesore, basically.
Right.
And so
that's what I'm trying to say, is that from your perspective, it's a burden.
We put all these raywood ashes along the way. They're fast-growing shady trees. So, and also we put some climbing vines on the fence so that
it doesn't erode.
Not only that, but also it's an eyesore.
Yes.
So basically, it's just out there to demand the resources that we have to put after it to maintain. I can fill it up and put a tennis court or something like that. We can use that, but we're not allowed to do any of such things. That because the irrigation district wants their water, city wants the water, they want to recharge the groundwater, so farmers can have cheap water or whatever that is. I have no problem with all those issues. There's necessary things for the community, but my issue is that I'm made to pay for that as compared to other people who are not paying for that. So that makes it unequal treatment.
I see. Okay. Any other questions from the board members?
Have you approached the city of Porterville, the Porterville Irrigation District, on maintaining this waterway?
No, they're not. Maybe
they refuse to, even with the property damage?
Actually, if you see on page number 4, they have uniformed officers sending letters and coming on site demanding that we take care of it. And not only that, when we have issues with the neighbors, we call police that this is what happened, and they say, well, I can't do anything about it. Here is a number. When we go there, they say, oh, here is a number, we visited that. And so really, we don't have much of any support from governmental agencies. We're just out on our own.
When, if I may add.
I think that if you are going to be giving us testimony, you need to be sworn in as well. The clerk would swear you in.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give and that are now pending before the Assessment Appeals Board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay, go ahead.
If I may add, on page 2, where you see a big old carve out of page 2 of attachment 4.
Okay.
He has a number 5, all the pictures on number 5.
Mm-hmm.
When that happened, it was pretty scary because where you see that whole carve out is where our fence is. And so he was at work. One of the handymen noticed it and called me home right away from work. And I called the city, I called the irrigation district. Irrigation district officials came to take a look. They said, well, call the city because we have a contract with the city to maintain this. So I called the city. I went to the police department. The irrigation person told me that, hey, if I were you, I would throw a truckload of concrete there. And, you know, that, what is that called? Degenerated granite there.
Yes.
And I said, well, shouldn't you be doing that all along the slough? And he said, well, I may have access to some trucks, truckloads of DG if you want. I said, well, when can you send it? And I have no access. There is no access to the slough. I cannot take a truck there.
Right.
But he says, well, that you have to take care of. I'm like, how am I going to do that? He's like, have someone come through way down somewhere where there is access with the truck and hire labor for 3 or 4 truckloads of DG to spread it all around the slough in our part that we live.
Did he admit it was the city's problem?
He said there is a contract between city and the county about something about the water management.
Have you taken this before the city council? Have you presented this to the city council?
I have presented to the city manager, I think was Mr. Langley at that time, and I just got that we're not going to be able to do anything. I asked for copies of the Porterville Irrigation District and other contracts that they have, and I got nothing, no response. I visited the city manager's office several times. I got no response. They have it somewhere in file 13. It may be that they just don't focus on this issue and have a blanket attitude and statement that your problem, you take care of that. And that's why I couldn't find that. I have not done a public document demand request, not yet. But I didn't. We have good relationship with city. And so we just not getting anything. I think that's the city and other agencies' policy not to mention this and let the residents take care of this burden, that if you don't know that you're carrying somebody else's burden, then you'll keep on carrying it. And this is their main management strategy. This is what it seemed to me, in my opinion, from my point of view. So we are not getting anywhere. It's been several years that we've not been getting anywhere.
Okay.
I have one question. So you asked me that question, what's the value? And so I don't know what's the tax rate. Is 1.5% tax rate on the valuation, or 1.2%, or?
Yeah, roughly, approximately 1.2%. Specifically depends on which tax rate area that you fall into, but roughly around that 1.5%.
So I was trying to do a rough calculation that $2,448, $68.25 can be converted to 1%. That is, what's 100% of that? Would be the valuation that I would take as a taxable value. To answer to your question, that would give me that much of relief, and that I would agree to. I'm not sure, I've not done that calculation yet, not knowing the rate, but I could quickly do that. I can come to a number that I would be able to live with. Does that seem, is that my statement is clear, what I said?
So you would sell it for that much?
I said I would take that as a taxable value of the property.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other questions by the board members?
I have a question.
Okay.
In looking at the county's comparatives here, taking into consideration comp 1 is 1.2 acres, doesn't this house, regardless of the slough, take the slough out of it, sit on approximately an acre? So this would pretty well establish the value of the house and nothing for the slough is what we're looking at. So in basics, looking at this thing, all of the assessments are based upon the usable property, such as the improvements and the land, and 0 on the slough.
That is correct.
That's correct, right?
Yep.
So in essence, he's paying nothing
For the slough.
for assessments, based upon the comparables. Because if you look at these comparables, they're very good. They're very close. One's 1.8 acres, and the one is 1.2 acres, which would represent his house based on a $60,000 value, based on 2 appraisals by 2 appraisers, which is unusual. I would think that tax rate would be more than adequate because he's paying 0 on the other property.
The one question that I have is that the slough is either, in the eyes of the beholder or the occupant, either an advantage or a disadvantage. In other words, either it has, let's say for instance that you're a wildlife person who just loves to have all kinds of birds, and that's there, and that's worth $100,000. And then you have another person that says, no, it's $100,000 worth of headache that's going to erode and eventually take my house. That's right. So that's what I'm kind of grappling with is, and the value there may be nominal, nothing, or it could be substantial.
Mr. Chairman, that's a valuation or a benefit decision you make when you're deciding whether or not you want to purchase a property. So, for example, I have a giant oak tree. People see that as burdens, and I see it as a benefit. And as a property owner, I have the responsibility of having it taken care of and trimmed and maintained to protect the public health and safety as well as my own residents. So I made that decision when I bought that piece of property. And I think that's analogous to buying a piece of property that has a slough on it.
Sure.
I might add, he purchased the property. You knew the slough was there, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You knew the slough was there when you purchased the property?
It was on the south side of the property.
Did you do any price adjustments for the slough? In other words, when you bought the property, how did you allocate the price? Did you say, I'll pay so much for the acre and one land and nothing for the slough? Or do I buy the house and the slough?
I think if I was not so naive and sophisticated in purchasing a house, then I would have done that. But it is an asking price from an owner, and we look at that, and family said, yeah, we need more space. Let's do this. So, I'm not sure about the allocation. That was not a concept. I was not born here. I was born in India, and when I came here, I was already an adult. And these are some of the purchases that we made, that not really knowing how the system works and all that. Ever since we have made efforts to educate ourselves and gradually continue to do that.
Did the real estate people, when you purchased this property, advise you of the slough?
That was a purchase from the owner. That was not a real estate purchase.
There was no real estate person. Isn't your thing back with the original seller then?
I'm sorry?
Isn't your going to go back to the original seller? He did not disclose that there was a problem in the back?
I cannot find him. As soon as he sold it, he moved away somewhere up north going fishing.
But what I'm getting at is the county is actually not in realism taxing that property at all. They're putting 99.9% of the value on that property, on the improvements and the amount of acreage that is there. When you look at the slough, at $360,000, that's the house and 1 acre. Doesn't include the slough if you look at it that way. So you're in the slough, you're paying no assessments at all.
Right, but you also...
and your maintenance shouldn't be up to you. If they're running water down that slough, you got two things, City of Porterville or the Porterville Irrigation District. And the only way you're going to get the City of Porterville is you've got to go to the meeting and demand that they repair it. What are the rest of your neighbors doing there now?
May I have that as an order from these agencies so that I can pursue that? Because they don't follow any of these logic and order or requirements. And my point is that they may not be assessing me what they are saying. I have to look at that. But that is also producing negative valuation of the rest of the property. And so you cannot just separate that. They are married to each other. They're interlocked. That portion of the property is producing negative valuation. And so you cannot just say that, oh, you're not paying for that, therefore forget it.
I didn't say that you're not paying. You're paying for the maintenance of it, yes.
Yeah.
Basically in taxes, no.
Right. But
your value, you say you didn't get any CC&Rs. You haven't taken it to the city council. Sounds to me like you've got a case with the city of Porterville. If you have that much damage and that much thing, is you should go see the city of Porterville and go to their public, what is it, meetings or...
Public Works Department.
I have a question.
Go to them and just say, hey, What's the deal on the maintenance? Is there CC&Rs here? Who is responsible for the maintenance?
So this is my question, that are you able to produce a written order that I can take to City of Porterville and say that here is the order from this board and it is enforceable, you take care of this? Are you able to do that? Is it within your jurisdiction?
They do not have the authority
They
to
don't
do it.
have the jurisdiction to do that.
Yeah.
Is it
I
an
mean,
issue
if
in
you
Three
order
Rivers
that-
or anything like that? Does that ever come into play? I know there's lots of homes, and that was kind of I was trying to think of what would be comparable, and somebody bought a home in Three Rivers on the river.
I've yet to see a case come forward where that has specifically been an issue.
Right. But that would kind of be similar, I would guess, huh?
Well, if it's in a floodplain, which most
Yeah.
of that up there in the river is, you can't get financing because your finance companies will not finance if it's on a floodplain. And most of your Three Rivers and along that way are mostly within the floodplain, as is his property. Although you have an X rating on it, I don't know who rated it or why, but this to me seems like it's a City of Porterville problem and his problem, not ours. As far as I'm concerned, his basic tax on that thing is zero. We're not responsible for his maintenance either.
And Mr. Fowler, I noted in his appraisal that the square footage on his property being appraised was about 37,000
Right.
square feet. It's not even an acre.
Right.
But what he's also told your board today is he has not gone before the city council in a public hearing. He's not pursuing his remedies with the irrigation district or the
Right.
city council.
Yeah. I think basically, if I don't want to rein in and not have all of the issues presented, but at some point we've got to have a summary and say, okay, is there anything else that you'd like to present to the board?
Sure. So to answer to that question that Ms. Greenwald had, so the taxable valuation would be $178,540.
But that was not the question she asked you. She asked you what you would sell it for. She didn't ask you what the taxable value was. She asked you what you would sell it for today to a buyer.
Oh, I see. So I'm making then a statement that this is the valuation, taxable valuation that I'll be able to accept as $178,540.
No, she asked you what you would sell it for.
I understand that, but
Okay,
I'm
so
also
you're not
making.
answering the question.
All right, so the thought process came from
Would you
there.
sell it for $176,000 or whatever that was?
Um,
Well, let me ask all of you a question. Do you guarantee that I will get $306,000 after I present this folder to the buyer? Do you guarantee that? Then we can talk more, right? I mean,
I think you
these
have
are
a
all
misunderstanding
arbitrary
of the process.
issues, but we feel like we are orphans.
Yes.
No agency is taking care of us when we are community oriented. We spend a lot of hours, money, and our energies on making our communities better. And then we turn around and ask for help and we are told tough luck.
Yeah.
Like orphans,
Okay, I have one clarifying question. Ma'am Langley, you did not swear in to give testimony. I saw both of them stand up to raise their hand. But so you're giving testimony without being sworn in?
No, not at all. I'm an attorney. I was asking you a question.
She's attorney representing the county.
I see. And I have one clarifying question. Are you related to Mr. John Langley?
First of all, that's irrelevant and none of your business, but the answer is no.
Okay, thank you. It's just a conflict of interest issue, so.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Panda?
No, thank you very much.
And the assessor, any other closing comments?
No.
Okay. I bring this back to the board. What is the board's wishes? Do we want to discuss and rule on the case or take it under advisement? Mr. Fowler?
I would rule on it now.
Morris?
Fine either way. I take it under advisement and we can do further discussion.
Okay. Then I'll agree that we need to take it under advisement. We will study the issue with the evidence that's been presented and come to a decision within the next 6 weeks. And you'll be notified when we have a decision. And it will be also in the form of a finding of fact so that you'll have a written report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate
We
the
appreciate it.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, leads us back to agenda item number 2. I'm going to just ask and make sure that there's no other person in the audience from any of the agenda items. All of the other people there that are sitting in the back are part of the assessor? Okay, so agenda item number 2 is John Hancock Life and Health Insurance that has a stipulation. Would the assessor like to read the stipulation into the record? Also, in this particular case, I think we might have asked this question, but let me just ask again. If you would give us a general appraisal as to what the issues were, and then your stipulation.
Okay, first of all, just to clarify, there is only one stipulation, even though we had 4 applications. The other 3 are basically a no-show. They had been changed internally prior to the hearing several months back. John Hancock's representative contacted the assessor's office, and those assessments were reduced to 0. So
And which ones were they?
Their application number 2011-00132.
Is the one you have the stip on?
Oh, no, no. The first one, 2011-00131, I have
Is the
stip on.
stipulation. And the rest of them have been basically
They were corrected internally.
Correct.
For some reason, the first one was not. And this isn't as much of a valuation issue as a court case. We cannot assess personal property to insurance companies. And because of a change in ownership, the staff had gone ahead and made an assessment, not realizing about the court case. And so that's why we're stipulating to 0.
And what is the case regarding? What is the applicant's
do you want me
contention?
just to go through the stipulation?
Just general, very, very general.
Okay. Life insurance companies pay franchise tax on income in lieu of tax on personal property pursuant to Revenue and Taxation Code Section 23182. Therefore, the assessed personal property value of $133,870 for the 2011 lien date is being removed. And I'll just go through the stipulation and read it in. For John Hancock Life Insurance Company of New York, their mailing address is 301 East Main Street, Turlock, California, 95380. Application number 2011-00131. Assessment number 333-020-001-000. The land value is $470,548. Structural improvements, $539,102. We reduced the personal property to 0, and the net taxable value is $1,009,650.
Okay, we have the stipulation read in by the assessor. Do I hear a motion to accept the stipulation?
On application.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. On application number 2011-00131, APN 333-020-001-000. I move that we accept the stipulation as presented by the assessor.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have here a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
And just to clarify, is the clerk's aware of what's going on with the other 3?
Yes, because we don't have any formal withdrawal, if we could deny it for non-appearance.
On the other 3, okay.
Yeah.
So is that?
The applicant, the applicant was advised to withdraw the other 3, but since the assessments have already been reduced to 0,
they did not.
denying for non-appearance isn't going to affect him. Really.
Right, but they have not been formally withdrawn, so we do need to do something with them. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to deny them for non-appearance. Okay? And,
Do we want to do a formal motion on that?
well, is there other ones that we're going to deny for non-appearance?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Let's just take them all at one time. That's okay?
That's great.
Okay. So now we're at agenda item number 4, Lowe's Home Improvement. What does the W stand for? HIW?
Home Improvement Warehouse.
Warehouse, okay.
Thank you.
Very good. And that is also a stipulation?
Yes, it is.
All right, in which ones are we going to have the stipulation attached to? Which
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them, okay? And can you give us a general idea of what the application objection was?
Yes. The agreed stipulations for the above listed appeals are based on a reduction of display items only. The display items located in each Lowe's store were previously assessed using a 15-year commercial life. The applicant supplied information substantiating that the display items should receive a lower life of 8 years. The factor change results in reductions as follows. For application 2010-00160, we're reducing $148,154. For 2011-00165, we're reducing $202,738. For 2011-00163, we are reducing $160,753. And for 2011-00164, we're reducing $281,667. Just to note also, this is an issue that's going throughout the state of California, and other chiefs of assessors' offices are also, for the most part, in agreement with the 8-year life. Some are going with a 5, and a couple are going with 10, but 8's
Okay.
pretty prevalent.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the assessor's stipulation?
I haven't actually read in the stipulation. Those were just the reduced amounts.
What's that?
I haven't actually read in the stipulation. Those are just the reduced
I'm asking the
amounts.
board.
Oh.
If we have a motion to accept.
She have to read them in before we accept it.
She just did.
I just read in what the amount of reduction is, but I haven't read in.
Oh, I'm
for
sorry,
example,
I'm
the
sorry,
land
I'm
values.
sorry, I misunderstood. Go ahead and read in your stipulation.
I threw out too many numbers to you there. Okay, application 2010-01160 for assessment number 800-247-506-000. The fixed improvements are $2,263,093. Personal property, $929,555 for a net taxable value of $3,192,648. We have application number 2011-00165, assessment number 800-247-506-000. Fixed improvements, $2,146,576. Personal property, $742,778 for a net taxable value of $2,889,354. Application number 2011-00163, assessment number 260-030-004-000. Land value is $6 million. Structural improvements, $6,120,000. Fixed improvements, $2,402,133. Personal property, $793,899 for a net taxable value of $15,316,032. And the last one's application 2011-00164, assessment number 171-310-015-000. Land is valued at $5,565,000. Structural improvements, $4,810,000. Fixed improvements, $1,966,327. And personal property is $540,163 for a net taxable value of $12,881,490.
Okay. Now we go ahead and ask the board if there's a motion?
Okay. On Application number 2010-01160 and application numbers 2011-00163 through 165. I move that we accept the stipulation as presented by the assessor.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay.
We also have a stipulation on Nutrius Incorporated, which is number
Yes.
10.
Let's go ahead and do that one next.
Okay, that one involves, the applications for these appeals involve the 2010 and 2011 lien dates respectively. An outside independent appraisal was conducted in 2008 and reflected the fair market value of the property at that time. The appraisal was considered fairly representative of the property value as of 2008, with the subsequent additions of equipment and disposals allowed to arrive at the values for the 2010-11 and 2011-12 tax years. There's a reduction of $1,029,872 for the trade fixtures and personal property portion of the assessment for 2010 and $859,826 for 2011. So application number 2011-00159, assessment number 028-130-042-000. Land is at $150,000. Structural improvements, $800,000. Fixed improvements, $1,455,613. Personal property, $178,683, for a net taxable value of $2,584,296. An application number 2011-00160, assessment number 028-130-042-000. Land is valued at $124,000. Structural improvements, $751,000. Fixed improvements, $1,397,948, and personal property, $173,536, for a net taxable value of $2,446,484.
Okay. We have a stipulation read in by the assessor. Do we have a motion?
On application number 2011-00160 and application number 2011-00159, I move we accept the stipulation as presented by the assessor.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. So we've got three stipulations behind us.
I'm sorry, can I just
Sure.
double check here? Does the clerk need any more information, or are you clear on because 159 was an escape 2010, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then 160 is the regular for 2011. Okay, you're all right with that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We'll start with agenda item number 5 is a withdrawal. Is there any additional information that the assessor can give us regarding that withdrawal? Applicant withdrew.
It was actually withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay. And number 12 is a withdrawal. And number 14 is a withdrawal. And we have well, let's go through the others too, in case there's something there. Let's just go down the list here. Agenda item number 6, Kimberly Gilton.
Single-family residence, the owner was actually treated underneath of the county's automated reduction system for Prop 8, and so at this point in time, it appears that they are okay with the value. So
And in effect, that's going to be denied for non-appearance?
that is correct.
And agenda item number 7?
We're postponing that one, or we're requesting a postponement?
Applicant and assessor mutually agreed to postpone to our next agenda because you're working on a
July 15th?
stipulation, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's off the calendar for today and requires no board action then.
Well, are we going to need to approve the extension?
No, because Well, they're 2011 applications, so we're not getting past the 2-year date.
We're
And we
okay,
have a-
but it's because it's
But
on the agenda, do we need to take any
No,
action?
what was on the agenda to start with. But what we put in the last time we amended our local rules was that if they stipulate to postpone it, then the clerk can approve one extension to the next,
And that's
one postponement to the next meeting.
So there's no action
So
there at
that's
all.
off the docket for today.
Agenda item number 8. Filbert Stewart.
I didn't hear anything from him. I tried to request information, but to no avail. He didn't contact me back.
Number 9, Mob and Martha Ellis. That's not appearance then?
Correct.
All of a sudden, my pen ran out of ink. There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, and number 10 is a STIP, which we've done. Number 11, JKC 3H8.
Retail office building, we actually exceeded the applicant's opinion of value as far as the reduction, so they're not here today because I assume they're very okay with those values.
Non-appearance?
Correct.
Okay. And number 12 is a withdrawal. And 13, Pamela Charamonte.
The single-family residence, we met the applicant's opinion of value. They stated they were going to withdraw, but I would assume it's going to be a denied for non-appearance.
And Larry Gaskin, that's a withdrawal. Okay, then let's go back and do the withdrawals first, starting with agenda item number 5. Do I hear a motion to consider agenda item number 5?
I move.
We're going to do them all together.
Do them all at one
Yeah.
time, yeah.
Okay, so number 5, 12, and 14 plus the withdrawal calendar.
I move that we accept items number 5, 12, and 14, and the withdrawal calendar for withdrawal.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, let's go back and do the non-appearances. Non-appearance, item number 6, 8, 9, 11, and 13.
And number
And-
2.
Which one?
And the rest of number 2.
And, yes, and the rest of number 2, which is application 0032 through 34. Okay, do I hear a motion to deny those for non-appearance? And if you'd read in the items again.
I move that application number 2011-00132 through 2011-00134, that application 2011-0004, application 2011-00096, application 2011-0108, and application number 2011-00462, 2012, and 0067. Let me read those last two.
And there's one more on the next page.
Last two again are 2011-00462, 2012-00617, and 2012-00464. 436 be denied for non-appearance.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong one on the last one. That, you just read number 14, and it's number 13.
00428.
There we go.
There you go. We have a motion to deny those for non-appearance. You have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now, we had not, have we taken a formal action on number 3?
No, you took it under submission.
That we took it under submission?
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to hear that in closed session. Okay? Is there any other items that need to come before the board for the current meeting? Staff? Assessor? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and adjourn Assessment Appeals Board meeting for June 17th, 2013. If there's no other business before the board, meeting's adjourned.
And we're going to stay and deliberate session.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we take a short break first?
That's, I would have, just what I was going to suggest.
I don't know about the rest of you, but it's been a while since I was in the restroom.
Lisa, do you need one of these back?
Oh, look, you can't mind. Look at it. No, of course, that's too sternly, so it wasn't too much to be worried about. Ooh.
Okay, the Assessment Appeals Board for June 17th is now back in session. Regarding agenda item number 3, the board has come to the conclusion that we're not taking any action, waiting for preliminary finding of facts at our next meeting. There's no motion that needs to be taken on it.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, so that concludes our closed session meeting for June 17th, 2013.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you all next month.
Okay, thank you very much. What's the meeting next month? What's the date on it?
I believe it's the 15th. Yeah.
15th?